Okay, this video is showing you how to make your name blocks. So for this, you'll need to open up the project file in your student folder. It should be inside the folder that you have created for yourself to save your parts. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to make some parts. Each block will be a separate part here for our assembly. So we're going to make um, the number of blocks necessary to form your name. So once we get this to load up, we're going to do a 2D sketch, and our blocks need to be rectangular, and we're going to make a 2x2 block. So 2 dimensions, 2 sizes there to make the rectangle 2x2. Finish the sketch, and we're going to make that 2 inches tall. Okay. So you make your block. The next thing after you make this block is we need to add our letter. So I'm going to move over to the sketch menu, and I want to do a 2D sketch. I'm going to pick the front surface, this surface here, to draw on. I'm going to add some text. And I'm going to draw a box inside this face of my rectangle. And what I want to do is type a single letter. After I type my letter, I can go in and highlight it, and I can change the size. So this block is 2 inches tall. I can make my letters 1.5 inches. And I just clicked off here on the side, and I noticed the change. I could also change the font if I want. If you go and do that, make all the letters the same font. Pick something that's easy to read. There's different fonts here, and some of them are not legible like that. That is not a letter in our English language, so we don't want to pick that. So pick something that's legible that we can read pretty easily. Okay, and I'm not sure what happened to that one, so I'll double click on it, go back and change it. Change it to something that Arial. There we go. Okay, so if it acts goofy, we just have to double click on the letter, or in that case, the weird stuff that came up, and go back and change it. We're going to move this so it's in the center. For these, we don't have to measure. We can just eyeball it, get it centered like that, and we're going to finish the sketch. And right now, we just have a letter that's sitting on top of a 3D block. We actually want to make this a feature on the block because if we try to go print this out on a 3D printer, it won't print this. It's kind of like a decal. It's not actually physically part of the model here. So what we'll want to do is in the 3D model tab, we're going to go to the emboss tool. And the emboss tool lets us raise letters off of the block or engrave them into the block. For this, I'm going to choose to engrave those letters in the block. And I'm going to go and make sure this arrow is selected so you can pick your letter. And I'll pick my letter here. And right now the depth is 0.1. I'm going to click OK. And it cuts it in 1/10 of an inch. So that should be good for these blocks. So we just don't want it too deep, or not deep enough, or else it doesn't really show. So once you have your block made, you can go in. We can change the color of the block. So I'm going to click here on the window that and it says Part 1. So I can change the color of the blocks so I can see it much better. So make the block a color. And then I can also color the inside of what I engraved by clicking emboss here on the side, and then I can change the color of that engraved part. So I'll pick a different color, make it stand out. And so it makes things look a little bit better when they're different colors. So if we were to actually 3D print these objects, we're not going to get them to be two different colors. You could if you had an expensive machine that does different colors like that. But for something simple, it would print everything out all as one color. We can go and paint it later if you wanted. If it's printed just on one color, that's no big deal. Okay, so we'll want to save this part, and then once we get all of our shapes made, so we'll want to make each individual cube with a letter on it done by itself. So we'd save this, go back to home, and make a new part, and make a new cube, new letter on that cube. So if you have two D's or two A's or two of the same letter, you do not need to make two of those blocks. You just need to make one of each letter. So once you get those put together, then and saved, then we'll need to make an assembly of those. So I'm going to click Assembly on the home page, and I'm going to select Place. And I have letters made, so I'll go find those, and I'll show you how to put them together. So this is pretty simple to put this together. Basically, all we're doing here is putting two faces together and making things even. Blocks. Okay, so I'm going to pick all my letters here. I'm holding the Control key down, and I'm picking all the letters. And click Open. So I'm just going to put one of each end. So click once here on the screen, and then either Escape or right-click and select OK. And I'll pull these letters apart so I can see them all, because they're all stacked on top of each other. Okay, so once I get those, I need two F's. So I'll copy and paste those. That's Control C and Control V to copy and paste. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of order these, just kind of get them in the right order there. And leave some space so you can do your work. All right, the first letter, I'm going to click on it with the left mouse click. Left mouse click, and I'll right click on it and select Grounded. I don't want that moving around. So when I start putting things together, this doesn't move all over the screen. I'm going to go to this Constrain menu. And what I want to do is I want to put two faces of the block together, and that's the mate. So mating is putting two faces together. So this is a face, and then I need to decide on what face of the S block goes against the D block. Well, a lot of the times we're going to have to rotate this view cube up here to see the other faces. But I want that face to go together. And you can see here, those two are now together. But it's not even. So I got to click Apply, and I'm going to choose the flush solution here. And the flush solution makes two faces side by side and even with each other. So right now, these two that have the letters on them are side by side, and they're even. They're not staggered like stairs, like this side here is. So I'll do the same thing on this side. I'll flush those two. Notice, made them side by side and even with each other. And I click Apply, exit out, and those letters are stuck together. So once you do two like this, you basically rinse and repeat. Do the same thing and put them in order, and then just make everything even. So after you do two faces and get them put together, make sure you click Apply so it sticks that constraint together. So then you don't goof up and mate things that don't need to be mated. So we're just going back and forth between the mate and the flush. once we get those together, and you just have a bunch of different colored blocks side by side. All right, and once we're done, and you'll have your assembly here of letters. I have 7, so you'll need to take this and you'll need to make it into a drawing file. So save this assembly of parts to your student folder, and then we'll need to make a drawing of this, which there's an example of on Canvas that you'll be able to look at. So if you have any questions, please ask.